our inscriptions, our scriptures put together is a massive, massive reservoir of historical resource, historical legacy, which we can draw upon, which is far, far perhaps richer than many other. When we talk of our ancient languages, so the Prakrit language or the Sanskrit language, I mean Sanskrit of the Rigvedic times, etc. And of course, when we talk of Prakrit and we talk of the Pali, so all these texts which are, be it Buddhist, be it Jain, be it Brahmanical text और संस्कृत टेक्स्ट, दे आर ऑल जिसको कहते हैं खान हैं हमारे एंशियंट इंडियन विजडम की. And unnecessarily we shouldn't try and drive a wedge that these are Buddhist texts, these are Jain texts, and these are texts which are close to the Brahmana texts meant for the plains, and Aranyakas meant for the forest and hill-dwelling people. These kind of divisions are actually meaningless to my mind. Do you agree with that?
I agree entirely.
Okay. So, sir, now we come down to something slightly different, and that is that, in South Asia, currently, again, the South Asian concept is, and our primacy in it has been given again by the British, who, when they came to India, they thought that there should be no one interfering within the South Asian region, etc. And we are the people who are there to sort of it's the first among equals. So this whole notion actually I find is very restrictive, because in ancient Indian times, and I would ask you whether you agree with my contention, and if you don't, then you must tell me why for the reader's benefit, is that our overland outreach and our maritime outreach was far more, meaning if we looked east, we looked towards Java, we looked towards Khmer, Kampuchea, we looked towards Vietnam, so all those areas were part of our outreach. If we look towards the west, of course, we look till as far as Rome, till as far as Europe. And, the balance of trade, etc., was hugely in our favor. And Sanskrit or whatever languages or scripts that followed from here, the culture which followed from here, was not by way of imposition on them, as maybe some other religions, when they came into India, they did that. I mean, the whole proselytization and that evangelism and that missionary zeal, etc., which carries on till yet. So what is the qualitative difference in terms of our outlook as a South Asian nation, and our outreach, both overland and maritime, which was there then and which is there now, and what do you see for the future in terms of guiding principles?
Well, what I think is that what is similar, or what seems to be outstanding in the scenario that we have drawn up, is that Indian civilization has always been deeply historical, keeping records from at least 10,000 years ago as per current dating applied to various types of art, prehistoric art in particular. But we already know that in Indonesia it has gone up to 51,000 years BC, which is about 21,000 significantly older than Western Europe, Lascaux and Altamira and so on. Now, painting pictures and narratives within them, telling stories with that, began in the Upper Paleolithic period, at the cusp of the last ice age and the warm period. That means memories were already being painted and narratives were being painted. Stories of things that were perceived were already being recorded as far back as so many years. So when we come up to texts that are written, the rise of scripts and so on, the long past in which narratives were being painted has obviously impacted the business of recording thoughts and stories and events, even administrative details. Asko Parpola himself argues that the Indus script is basically to do with administrative matters other than religious and so on and so forth, in analogy with West Asian cuneiform and the early scripts of that. So other than management oriented sort of notations, scripts are also a way of writing history, and that has become definition in fact of history. But you cannot deny the prehistoric contributions of recording thoughts or memories through symbols, whether they are painted or whether they are scripted. They are both codes, coding of those thoughts, either through symbols, pictorial, or through alphabets.
So, sir,
So the entire South and Southeast Asian region has this shared heritage of, you've been director of the National Archives. I'm told there are 1,000 inscriptions that are known from India already, or a lakh rather, sorry. A lakh inscriptions, that means written on stone, are known from India. How many texts are there? I'm sure it exceeds by far. So together with Southeast Asia, with which we were trading, and it is said the script actually, Brahmi script actually traveled with the trade down to Southeast Asia, and their inscriptions, the earliest ones are influenced by Brahmi. There are some Sanskrit inscriptions there as well.
So
this
we have been
deep
told.
sense for history unites us.
So what you've just said again is something very, very radical and something very gratifying, sir. And for our listeners, I would like to sort of put it in perspective that what has been earlier said and even now being said by a lot many historians of the day, and that is that our sense of history, you see, is something which the Indians have lacked. And it's only after maybe much later, in the last 200 years, 300 years or 400 years, that we have actually started to record our history. Otherwise, the rest of it has all been relegated to mythology, so to speak, as they say that, all the हमारा जो इतिहास है, जो इतिहास महाकाव्यों का है, वो सब माइथोलॉजी में quote unquote वो कह दिया गया. What Professor Ajay Pratap is saying now is that our inscriptions, our scriptures put together is a massive, massive reservoir of historical literature, historical resource, historical legacy, which we can draw upon, which is far, far perhaps richer than many others.